Energy drinks, stimulants, today are very popular, and every second popular blogger releases them. And this is a very big niche on which huge money is made. There are many questions about their danger and harmfulness. Is it a myth, or does it really kill your health, cause addiction? Today in the issue, I will figure out what modern energy drinks are mainly made of, what benefit or harm they bring. What can you expect if you consume them a lot and regularly? And I will give certain advice on how you can still return this vigor to your body without consuming energy drinks. Watch till the end and you will get a lot of benefits and a huge amount of answers to the questions that interest you. People have always strived for a high level of energy. They wanted life to pulsate in them at full power. And earlier, indeed, it seems to us that energy drinks appeared not so long ago. But in fact, if we dig into history and delve into the past, we will remember. It would seem an energy drink, but tea is also an energy drink, and the first energy drink is tea. Can you imagine how long and far away it was? Coffee is probably the most popular energy drink. It came from Ethiopia, and it's also more than 1,000 years old. And now I drink coffee, but many who drink it, and in fact the turnover of coffee in terms of size is almost incomparable, as I know, with the turnover of narcotic drugs in terms of money. Therefore, the coffee lobby is very dangerous, powerful. Constantly some new studies appear which say that it brings enormous benefits, that it reduces the risk of diabetes. It's challenging to discern truth from falsehood due to the enormous amount of money concealed behind this lobby. Mate is a South American drink with a mild stimulating effect. It is also very popular, and now in many coffee shops you can also allow yourself to buy mate. And last but not least, it's the women of Guarana, and if today when I say the word Guarana you think of a drink that they will sell you in a fitness club, then in reality it's Guarana. This is also South America, Asia. People consumed and understood that it gives them some kind of energy boost. The chemistry of all these energy boosts is actually very simple. I'll state this now and revisit it multiple times as the story unfolds. Remember, energy drinks don't give you energy, they mask your fatigue. If you grasp this principle, you will significantly change your attitude towards them. The first commercial drinks with caffeine. Today, an energy drink is something in a glass or metal can. Did you drink well? A huge amount of advertising. Look there at the same. There is even a racing team. And the first drink, which contained caffeine, but indeed there was not only caffeine, but also an extract of cocaine. This is Coca-Cola in 1886. Yes, it sounds funny now, but that's why the word coca is present in the name Coca-Cola. By the way, an interesting fact is not the next, but even the first drink in 86 was cola, and Dr. Pepper was the first drink a year earlier. It was the very first carbonated drink with an invigorating effect. Interestingly, Pepsi Cola was created as an alternative to coffee in 1893. They weren't considered energy drinks. People back then didn't fully understand how it all works, but it was considered a good way to boost energy levels, life forces, to add a real kickstart. And it was a real energy drink, not just a tasty beverage. This term appeared in Japan in 1962. It was the first drink that could truly be considered an energy drink. What was in the composition? Taurine, caffeine, B vitamins. And actually, so many years have passed. Modern energy drinks often contain taurine, caffeine, and B vitamins. Who were these drinks originally created for? The Japanese invented this drink for those layers of the population who experienced heavy psycho-emotional stress and lacked vitality. And of course, the most popular drink, if I say energy drink, what drink comes to your mind? Yes, that's correct. This is in 1987 Austrian Dietrich Mateschitz. He adapted, actually did not invent, the original was such a Thai drink, Krating Dang, and he just took it as a basis and adapted it. As you know, the story was very interesting. At first, no one bought it. It was the first energy drink in such a large bottle, and no one wanted to drink it because they didn't understand what it was. Then they started giving it away for free at parties somewhere near student dormitories. And these used cans were lying around everywhere, and people, for one, started showing interest, and they also started sponsoring a huge number of sports events, and people started to adapt, associate, link it with an active lifestyle. This is the first and the second. There was also an interesting moment that the price for it was raised several times, and the demand growth happened just when the prices for it sharply increased. As you know, the forbidden fruit is sweet. What's in the unique formula of caffeine, taurine, B group vitamins? The formula is unique, but in essence, in Japan they had already come up with exactly the same drink. And the main distinguishing feature is sugar, a huge amount of sugar. What does today's modern energy drink market consist of? Let's figure it out. First, there are classic energy drinks. We won't name them, but most often they contain caffeine, taurine, and sugar. The second is sports ones. What does sports mean? Sports? Usually people don't like sugar. They try to avoid sugar. In fact, it's all the same, but there is no sugar there. And sometimes some adaptogens are added, or in some drinks, for example, creatine is also added. These shots were taken in Japan, where they are very popular. Here, they are prepared and served. Such small bottles. This is so as not to quench thirst, but just to recharge with energy. In other words, there is a high concentration and large dose of caffeine, up to 300-350 milligrams, which is practically a daily dose, all in one shot. And there are also so-called healthy ones, in quotes, healthy energy drinks, which contain extracts of natural plants. Well, for example, ginseng or guarana. Well, as they say, natural means seemingly useful. What conclusions do we make so far? People have always consumed energy drinks without knowing if they contained harmful or beneficial ingredients. The first drink was Dr. Pepper. And indeed, today many energy drinks are similar in their composition and only differ in taste and smell. Let's figure it out, my friend. What's inside, what's in the composition, and what actually works, and what is a marketing move? The first, probably the most popular, the most frequently encountered, is caffeine. Caffeine is the most popular stimulant. And in large studies, it was repeatedly confirmed that indeed, both in athletes and in healthy ordinary people, it actually has a stimulating effect. Their strength, concentration, and focus can increase. How much of this caffeine can a healthy person without diseases, without contraindications, consume per day? The figure is approximately 400. In my understanding, it's still better to limit yourself to 250, and preferably in the first half of the day. 250 milliliters contains 80 milligrams of caffeine. 1 cup of espresso contains approximately 80 milligrams to 160 milligrams of caffeine. 300 milligrams of caffeine is 4 cups of coffee in 1 mug, and energy shots are also 300, but they are small in volume. Caffeine provides an increase in concentration and alertness according to scientific facts. It blocks receptors to adenosine, and when you block adenosine receptors due to caffeine, you don't want to sleep, and therefore caffeine can really invigorate. Because of this, the reaction speed also increases. That is, the braking in the body decreases and is perceived as a consequence of drowsiness. Caffeine and its effect on adenosine receptors lasts quite a long time. You may be able to dismiss a caffeinated drink in half an hour, in an hour, but you can disrupt your sleep and circadian rhythm if you drink caffeinated drinks at 7 to 9 in the evening. Why? It all gets excreted from the body within 8 hours. And even if sleep does occur, it's not as deep, it's more superficial, and therefore it will restore you less. What do we associate with an overdose of caffeine? Everyone has probably experienced it. This is tremors, this is a headache, restlessness, sometimes even a panic attack can occur, tachycardia, increased pulse, arrhythmia can occur. In fact, caffeine is even released in ampoules. In certain places and situations, caffeine is considered a medicinal product. The biggest problem is that we often don't understand how much caffeine we consume, because sometimes caffeine comes to us with some tablets. We consume it with some sports nutrition and do not understand that there is caffeine. Or we only consider, for example, coffee and do not understand that there is caffeine in the same cola. And in total, you exceed the amount that is permissible in a day. Once again, the daily dose. According to World Health Organization data, 344. It still seems to me, if we talk about a healthy lifestyle, it's 250. And it's better to consume and get caffeine from good grain coffee and in the first half of the day. Secondly, it contains mostly taurine. Many of you think that taurine is also some kind of energy drink, that it will increase energy levels, that is the same as caffeine. In fact, this is not the case. The effects are completely different, and taurine goes along with caffeine. You won't feel it separately. It is believed that it affects the energy balance in the body, but it is not an energy drink itself. In fact, there are very few studies that actually prove its effect, and many say that it's more marketing, meaning its effect is insignificant. Thirdly, probably the biggest harm is glucose, sugar. Of course, many fitness trainers now will say, well, think about it. There's 30 to 40 grams of sugar. Yes, indeed, if we're talking about some occasional consumption, it won't lead to anything. But all these drinks, they have a particular feature. They make you want to drink more and more of them, and you become dependent. And many guys, they start their day with an energy drink, sometimes drinking 2 or 3 energy drinks a day. Especially when their idol on the internet tells and shows that it's very beneficial, cool, and you can win a sports car if you drink it. Energy drinks. Each of us has some stories related to energy drinks with energy beverages. In my life, they were mainly present in the form of sports supplements, and supplements are primarily made up of them. Well, besides caffeine, there's taurine, beta-alanine, citrulline, and they are still for healthy people. Yes, a pre-workout is not drunk by a 12-year-old boy, or a pre-workout is not drunk, I hope, by some old man who has ischemic heart disease. So in my life, there really weren't such acute problems with energy drinks. There was one moment in my life when I allowed myself too much coffee. I was flying, it was a graduation. After the 6th course, they piled me up for a trip, and we flew to Ayia Napa. Ayia Napa is a resort in Cyprus. And on the bus, on the way to the plane, we met a group of guys, they were about 15 years old, who were flying there for just 3 days. Because they had so little time for vacation, they had to return to work. They tried to spend as much time and actively as possible. And I was flying there with a friend, Artem Kluzovic is my friend. And we were so in sync with them, we tried to go everywhere with them to run, but it was simply impossible. And we started to drink a lot of energy drinks. I remember there were 2 days without sleep. I constantly drank energy drinks so as not to fall asleep. And at one point I just realized that the sounds around me became quiet. The colors somehow became dull. I'm not in the mood and don't want anything, just like that. The most terrible condition. Once I actually overdosed on Fina. Share any interesting energy drink related situations or incidents in the comments below. We'd love to read them. Sugar, what does it give? It actually gives a boost of energy by increasing the level of glucose. Insulin is released, then there's a sharp drop, and after that you experience a loss of strength. So the drink energized you, and then you felt even worse. If you need to get somewhere in the last, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, possibly you can actually consume this energy drink because you're going somewhere and you're already dozing off. But to just consume it because you like the taste, under no circumstances. How much sugar is contained in the most popular drinks? Let's say 27 grams of sugar is about 6 teaspoons. Second, 54 grams of sugar. Imagine 54 grams of sugar, 54 grams of sugar. Can you imagine 54 grams of sugar? And there are also drinks that do not contain sugar. They might excite you less at the moment, but they will have fewer negative effects later. That is, this slump will be less significant. It's not beneficial, of course, but it's still better than an energy drink with glucose. Importantly, caffeine's effects are stronger when consumed with glucose, enhancing its impact. The crash, it's called an energy crash, happens after about 60 minutes. This increases the risk of obesity, insulin resistance. If you are at risk for diabetes, regularly consuming energy drinks is not a good idea. And, of course, protein glycation occurs, which means you will age faster. The safe dose of sugar is, of course, individual. There are people who eat 20 grams a day, but dietitians say that the safe dose of sugar is just 1, sometimes it's half a can. Energy drinks are approximately 25 to 30 grams. Sugar substitutes are safe, harmless. Let's figure it out. Sugar substitutes are better than sugar in a drink, especially in something like an energy drink. The main 3. Aspartame is quite common. You know it under the name E951. It's sweet, but there are some safety concerns about it. The second is saccharin. It's E955, and acesulfame is E950. They're safe, but studies show that consuming them increases your craving for sweets. And the third is stevia, probably the safest, but as you know, stevia is bitter, so it's not the tastiest. Indeed, there are benefits. The sugar level in our blood does not increase, but our brain reacts in a specific way to the seemingly sweet taste. And this, in fact, sometimes helps to hold back. This sometimes complicates it because you are deceiving the body. That's why I'm in favor of having glucose still present in the body in the form of some kind of harmful product. But let it be dosed and you will know what you can allow yourself. In principle, harm is determined by volume, so a can of soda a day, it won't radically change your life for the better or for the worse. We often see vitamins plus vitamins on energy drinks. Yes, indeed, there are vitamins. Most often these are group B vitamins, some B2, B6, and B12. Why? Because they participate in energy exchange. They really help to process food into energy faster and better, and also affect our nervous system. And therefore, one of such obvious signs of a deficiency of vitamins of group B, especially when we see a vegetarian. Well, he's such a slow, sluggish, slow to react to everything, not in a very good mood, energy level drops. Therefore, if you are a vegetarian, please monitor your level of vitamin B group. Remember, the vitamins themselves do not give energy in principle, they only work when you have a deficient condition. And an overdose of some, or in principle some of them, can cause allergic reactions. For example, B2 can cause a flush effect in you. The vessels dilate, prostaglandins make you feel such a burning sensation, then skin redness and a headache. This is exactly the flush effect. Natural extracts in the composition can make it unpleasant but not dangerous. This is common. What it could be guarana, it could be ginseng, really ginseng guarana. They also work with green tea, as they are expensive. They put very little of the usual product. The conclusions are brief. The first, caffeine, is the only one, the one that really works. 2, taurine, vitamins, groups of extracts. It's still more towards marketing. Sugar in energy drinks is the main problem of all energy drinks because people start to drink a lot of these energy drinks. The zero version is better than the version with sugar. And how do energy drinks affect the body? Let's figure it out. I call this health on credit. You get vigor, but then the body will take your health back in percentages. And indeed, you should understand what I started the episode with. Energy drinks don't give energy, they mask your fatigue. So in reality, when you're feeling tired, perhaps the most sensible way to deal with it is to rest. It's to open a window, it's to change your posture, it's to squat, it's to go for a walk. But we want to get excited, doing nothing in place. And of course, this affects the nervous system. In the long run, you don't allow yourself to recover, you stimulate the already conditionally exhausted nervous system. And in the end, you get overwork, and you, in essence, stop feeling the fatigue signal. Your fatigue is a fatigue signal, it's a signal to your brain that you need to rest. And you destroy this robust, sufficient system, the body begins to work on wear and tear. Imagine it like a car engine. As your temperature rises, instead of slowing down and braking, you floor the pedal. That's not very correct. The effect on the heart and accelerated aging. Indeed, energy drinks can increase heart rate. Energy drinks can actually increase pressure, not strongly, but they can. If you have a predisposition to certain diseases, especially if you are overweight, then you can indeed provoke the onset of certain diseases, especially type 2 diabetes. If you have a deferred medical history, let's think about whether to drink energy drinks or not. In rare cases, because you always want such a radical directive advice from me. This is evil, this is good, this is drink, this is don't drink. In fact, everyone has a moment in life when an energy drink can really be beneficial, because a one-time use of anything will not make you either sick or a healthy person. So, if you, for example, as I told you, are going somewhere, you just need not to fall asleep and you have 30 minutes left to drive, probably an energy drink can help you. But if we talk about that version, about that form of application, look at how many energy drinks there are and how often young people especially use them. And the brain, especially growing in adolescence, it reacts particularly actively to caffeine, and this leads to certain disorders. Because long-term use of large doses of caffeine and sugar is not beneficial. So if you make me choose something, I would say it would probably be better if energy drinks didn't exist. but forbidden fruit is always sweet. So, if we're talking about rare, non-systematic use, then probably, in principle, you can allow yourself an energy drink, but it should be colorless energy drinks, it should be energy drinks. Preferably zero sugar, and the amount should not exceed the daily norm of caffeine intake. More than 40, but in my opinion, it's still 20-50. And when you lack energy, think about why you lack energy. Maybe you have a deficiency of some vitamins, maybe you sleep too little, maybe you train too much or too little, maybe you have some psychological stress. Don't try to find a simple and quick answer in the form of a can. Approach your life, your goals with intelligence, and then everything will be fine for you.